Hi, everybody. Matt here from Matt Likes Comics. Glad you could join us tonight because tonight we have a very special guest, one who is reasonably well known in the comic book community, certainly on the YouTube. And although I really think that you're low subscribed. You really, I would have been surprised a guy of your stature would have been a little higher, but I'm
Slow,
glad to
slow and steady.
you know. But I'm glad tonight to introduce everybody to Brian LCS. Brian, thanks for coming out tonight.
Thanks. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
How have things been? Have they been crazy busy with the CBC CBCA awards?
No,
Too many
not really. I
acronyms.
mean, right now it's just really checking in on the nominations and making sure they're coming in and just trying to promote it and spread the word. So it's kind of not a lot of work when the nominations are open. There'll be a lot of work once they're closed, and I got to get everything together and get the finalists tallied, and then once the finalist voting opens, again, it's kind of like a little bit of a downtime for me until then getting ready for the final show to announce the winners. So it's kind of
And
peaks and valleys.
excellent. Would you say that it's better than last year? Is it more subscribed than it was last year?
Right now, last time I looked, I think I looked yesterday or over the weekend. We're still a little bit less total nominations than we had last year. But a lot of times right at the end, the last couple of days, you kind of get the push. Like in the middle of it, it kind of slows down. You get a lot in the beginning, kind
Yeah.
of not so much in the middle, and then at the end, it usually spikes. So we're not as many nominations as, like I said, as we had last year, but we've got about 10 days left. So
I was actually really surprised the first day that you put them up. I looked at the list and I'm like, wow, this seems like it was bigger than last year. But then what do I know about it?
well, yeah, I mean, as far as the numbers, the total number of channels, there's over 500 channels and shows that have been nominated. So it's an extensive list. I was just talking about the pure number of nominations, but
yeah,
it's a very large group of
yeah.
nominees.
There's a lot of people that whose names I saw in there that I don't recall seeing last year. So that in itself is a good sign on the health of comic book YouTube, and hopefully we can just keep growing because honestly, once I discovered comic book YouTube, I was like, oh, this is awesome because long before I became a channel, I was watching people using it to, oh, I didn't know this about this. I'm going to go
Right.
get this book and stuff like this. I started watching with Lunch Money Comics for the most part and
Okay.
Very Gary, and they led me to Alan, who's led me to here. So,
Right.
which is there it is. Well,
Yeah.
let's take a minute.
Once you hit one or two channels, you kind of go down the rabbit hole of getting
Yeah,
connected with a lot of other people. Yeah.
exactly. Let's take a minute to say hi to those in the chat. We've got Robbie Josephs. Hi, Matt. Hi, Joseph. Robert. Hi, Robbie. It was one of those days around here. Hi, Kay Munin. Good to see you.
Humans here.
I saw on your broadcast the other day you said your kids were older and all that stuff. Mine are in that mine are still high schoolers, and so they're around in the summer. Hi, John Harrison. How are you? And we've got the Comic Collector Coach. Good to see you. Up and Adam Comics. I hope you can see that I've given this a wonderful place. We've got Mark Mueller, known better as Mark's Issues at Archie Comics. Hi, how are you? JX is here. I am so glad to see you, JX, because I have got something I'm going to show that came from you today.
Oh, nice.
And, oh, geez, Robbie. Thank you, Robbie. I really appreciate it. Ding, ding, ding. I'll ring the bell since StreamYard took my videos away. Thank you very much, Robbie. It's really appreciated. You are a wonderful fan, and I appreciate you. You're really good with everybody online. He's one of the best. Robbie's one of the best fans out there. Hi, Nate. Pleased to see you tonight.
Yeah, Nate will be
Oh,
live later, right?
what's that? Sorry.
So Nate will be live later on tonight.
Nate, as usual, will be on with the FOMO squad just after we finish up. If you guys are willing to, go on and check out Nate, Dope, Eric from SideQuest, and whoever they've got sitting in for Hagen tonight, because Hagen is in my neck of the woods, and Hagen, Allen, and I are going to meet for dinner on Thursday night. So very excited, and we're going to show him our local comic shop. Hi, Steve. Hi, Steven. How are you? Now, I'm going to make myself big for a few minutes. I want to show today in my mail, I received an AOK from JX. And I had to laugh with the first little bit of the AOK because he sent me a Smurf, a flying Smurf, Superman Smurf, wearing a mask and everything. And he sent me this thing, which is a Smurf little piano. And once I get the see, here it is on the inside. Once I get a battery for it, I'd be able to apparently play music on this thing. I wonder if I could play la 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 la. Anyway, he was also kind enough to send 4 books my way. The first one, I'm pretty sure there's a couple people out there in the chat who would find this a pretty cool book. This is Gumby's Summer Fun Special number 1. To me, it fits in that kind of weird, fun books that everybody seems to like so much over at FOMO Squad. He was also kind enough to send me Men of War number 1, which is the first appearance of the Gravedigger. I have read this story. I really like the character, the Gravedigger, and I'm really happy to have this one. He also sent me Skull number 5 from 1972. I have not really read a lot of this type of comic book from the underground and stuff, so I am looking forward to reading this and getting an impression of it. Other than Robert Crumb, I mean, everybody I'm sure has read Robert Crumb at some point. And the last one he sent is this book called Aristocratic Extraterrestrial Time-Traveling Thieves number 2. Now, the name itself is cool, but when you look at the back and see a Dave Stevens cover, we know how much Dave Stevens is really liked in this community. So I have to say that was a great choice to send. Okay. Thank you, JX, very much. I really appreciate the books and the Smurfs. I'm going to enjoy them. So, Brian.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
You are one of the many people we've seen online who managed to make a trip down to Heroes Con. What was your impression of Heroes Con, and what did you buy, and did you meet any of the comic celebrities?
Oh yeah. So second time at Heroes. And I'm about an hour, 15-minute drive from the convention. So, my plan is to be there, every year for the future. And it was just a great convention because it's really comic focused. I mean, 90% of the vendors are comic book vendors.
Yeah, I have to admit, looking at people's videos about that really impressed me because most of the shows that I've been to have been pop culture mixes.
Right.
So
that's the really, I mean, so if you're looking for a particular book, you're going to find it in multiple vendors, and you can go and kind of shop around, compare prices, and then go try to make a deal. So it's, if there's really anything that you're looking for, you're most likely going to find it there. And then, the other side of it, and probably even the bigger piece, was just the amount of the community that was at the show, and just being able to, meet people and have breakfast, dinner, hang out after the con. That's really become a big part of it. Because it's become like the con to go to. So many people go to it.
Exactly. Hi, Lyle. Good that you were able to make it.
Yeah, Rich
so what was your biggest purchase at the con?
I didn't go too crazy this year. I actually last year, and I didn't pull it. I picked up Amazing Spider-Man 129 last year. That was kind of a big book. Got it in a 6.0, so spent a pretty good amount of money. This year was kind of just kind of working on some runs. I'm working on Marvel Team Up.
Hmm.
And I had one Star Wars book that I needed to complete the original Marvel Star Wars run. That was at issue 68, which is Boba Fett cover. So that was kind of the most expensive book that I picked up.
Hmm.
Yeah, not. It was more about some run stuff and nothing, no big key or grail this year, but there's always next year.
There's always another show. There's always another
Oh yeah.
store like that I've discovered over the years. There are no lacking of conventions in my area. We're really lucky that way. There is a small show every month. Then there's a two medium. I call it two medium shows. And then there's the big Ottawa Comic Con. Plus, I'm 2 hours from Montreal, so that's a huge city. I don't
Right.
know
Yeah.
that's almost a city of almost 4 million people. So I was at their big con a couple weeks ago. Although
Yeah,
I
it's
won't.
the same way here in South Carolina, believe it or not. There's pretty much a local show at least once a month.
Hmm.
Um, I have three shops that are 20 minutes of my house.
Hmm.
South Carolina has their own Comic Con.
Hmm.
The Hero, like I said, Heroes Con isn't that far away, and Heroes does a couple mini shows throughout the year. So
Oh,
there's plenty of opportunity to spend money.
isn't there always? So what got you into comic book collecting? What was your start?
I don't really remember like when I first picked up books, but I was as early as I can remember, I was watching Batman 66 on TV
Hmm.
and Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man animated series, as a 3, 4 year old. And I had all of my first toys were all the Mego line of toys, all of the
Nice.
superhero toys. I had the Bat Cave, I had the Batmobile, I had the Bat Van, I had, all Spider Man, Hulk, all of the Mego figures. And then I was thinking about this because I knew we were going to talk about it. We used to go. I'm the youngest of five, so
Hmm.
our typical summer vacations were a road trip somewhere, camping, vacationing somewhere, and I would always pick up something to read because we were going to be in the car for a couple hours. And so it was typically Mad Magazine or Cracked Magazine
Uh,
and a Spider
there's not
Man.
a lot of people. There's not a lot of people who admit they buy cracked anymore, but I did, and so I.
Yeah, I did. And a comic book or a comic book or two. So that I had some reading material while we were in the car. And
Mhm.
so I don't even remember like what was my first book um, and then as I got older, probably 11, 12, where I could ride my bike to the local convenience store, 7-Eleven, I started buying comic books there pretty regularly because I could drive myself, ride my bike there.
Mhm.
And I was lucky enough to have a couple friends who were into comic books as well. And so they introduced me to some different titles and some different artists. One of my friends was a big John Byrne fan. So he kind
Mhm.
of introduced me to around the time in the 80s. He was doing Fantastic Four. So I started collecting Fantastic Four and reading Fantastic Four. And then, probably a couple years after I was collecting, there was a local comic shop that opened that was near one of our shopping malls that I could take the bus to. So
Right.
before I was even driving, I could take the bus and go to the shop, and then I really started picking up books, pretty regularly. Um, and then, obviously, then once I was old enough to drive and things like that, then I could go and go
Mhm.
to the shop whenever I wanted. So
Yeah, I was lucky too when I was younger. Not only did I have four convenience stores within walking distance, like 10 minutes, but there was a comic book shop in a 20-minute walk from my place. So And back then they still had 50-cent books that were like, we're talking early to mid 80s here. So there was still like 1970s Bronze Age thrown in a 50-cent bins and stuff. I don't know how many Batman family, Superman family books I bought out of those
Yeah.
back then, but it was a lot of, it was a lot easier.
And then we had, thinking about that too, there was a Holiday Inn that I could walk to, was close to my house. And they started having like a monthly comic book show in their ballroom. And so I would go to that. And then there was one time somebody in our neighborhood, I guess he was a collector, and he started selling some of his books. He was like 3 or 4 blocks over from where I lived. And he had like a weekend sale at his house. And I remember buying the Wolverine limited series at this guy's, basically house sale. So it definitely, I was lucky that I had a lot of different opportunities as a kid to buy books.
Yeah, that is the key. I find is if you don't have places to go, I find that it may not help stir your interest.
Right.
Like I hear stories about if you listen to Alan. Alan grew up on Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia, which is fairly isolated. So there wasn't really a lot of comics around for him. There was a couple places that had them, but his parents would buy them for him. So he was only getting the gold key stuff.
Right.
So he had to go out on his own to discover comic books on his own. And I'm sure a lot of you people out there have heard Alan's story. I mean, he gave it again, Don Chonko and Big Nasty's channel this last Saturday. Hi, Steve. Welcome to the show.
I think he's made up for lack of comic books as a
child. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He's done quite well for himself there. So what I'm going to do at this point, Brian, is I'm going to make you big, and why don't you show us some of the books you brought and tell us why you like them, and I will comment and question in the background.
Okay. So I've got this actually came from Dope Comics from Heroes Con this year, Bootleg Spider-Man.
Oh, very nice. Dope is a very generous gentleman as well.
And this was a book that I had heard about, but I don't think I've seen it out in the wild. And so it's so funny. Mary Jane has kind of let herself go, and Spider-Man's bringing her home fast food to eat. And it's a very funny, different kind of take on Spider-Man. So that was a great gift from
very nice
from Dope,
similar to the What Ifs or sorry, not Brand Eck from yeah. Okay,
now this was another gift from Dope, an Italian version of the Amazing Spider-Man.
Very
so
nice.
This is I have a couple Pence books, but this is the only book I have in a different language, right? Other than
it looks like it's Italian.
Yeah. So Italian. So yeah, this was just another, just such a surprise, and it looks like Spider-Man did not skip a leg day on this cover. It looks like he's
no, it does not. It looks like that. It actually looks like that is a original cover for that book, and not. Yeah, I don't recall ever seeing that one on a Spider-Man book.
Right. So yeah, just another weird, unique, I should say, not really weird, unique book, because I don't have any other foreign language books in the PC. Well, I'm going to show you my own book. So,
that's true. I had forgotten. You're doing your own book. That's great. Yeah. Tell us about it.
This was my first book. This is the Doctor issue 1 last year. When I was in college, I was kind of I studied television and film production, and my dream was to work in the movie industry, Hollywood, and make movies. And I had some scripts, full, screenplays that I wrote when I was in college. I actually had a literary agent for a little while when I was in college. And when I got back into collecting, I thought of, I still wanted to, make a movie or a film, but, obviously, I don't have $250 million laying around to make a movie. So I said, well, I could still write and, really produce something visually with a comic book, and a lot less expensive than a movie. So that's really
Mhm.
kind of what got me back into writing, and then working with an artist to get a book done. So this is issue one, and
That
then
looks really good.
issue two. We worked on issue two, and issue three is currently in the works. It's with the artist, and he's creating. So same artist that did issue two, Interior Arts, is working on issue three. So
Very nice.
yeah,
So
so
where can you get this?
these I still have some copies of. I have digital of issue one. We basically, the print run that I had sold out. But yeah, if you contact me, or I have a website. It's ecscomics.com, where you can see all of the things that we're working on as far as the Doctor, and we have a couple other
Nice.
projects. Currently working on with some of the community artists. I know Up and Adam was he's in the
Mhm.
chat. He's doing a piece for it. So I'm working on a Halloween horror themed art book that
Nice.
I'm going to be kickstarting in September. Basically have it delivered for Halloween. So basically have a bunch of different artists working on pinup style of like classic horror and Halloween, but they're doing it with a little bit of a twist, and they're being done as females. So this is not. This was
Wow.
one of the pieces that will be in the book. So it's kind of
Oh, very nice.
the bride of Frankenstein, like you've never seen her before.
Yes, I don't think I've ever seen her in that. First of all, her skin looks much better.
Yes.
I think Kay Munin, if you're still there, I think that's the kind of thing you'd like to see. Eric is saying hi, Eric. Welcome to the show. He's saying
Yeah,
his
and
is
Eric. Eric's working on a piece as well for the
very nice.
for
I
the art
like
book.
Eric's
So
style. I've
yeah,
seen a couple of the pieces Eric's done for
yeah, he
people.
did some great. I got one of his videos in my to watch list. But I saw some of the original artwork that Eric did at Heroes Con. He gifted the FOMO Squad some original pieces, which were amazing.
Very nice.
So, as you can tell by my background, I'm a little bit of a Spider-Man fan.
Nothing wrong with that.
So we've got some Spider-Man books to show you. So
that was going to be one of my next questions. Actually, do you buy slab books? So obviously you do. So
I do. Well, this actually is a book. So this is Web of Spider-Man. This is from 1985. This was an actual copy that I bought from my local 7-Eleven and have lugged around with me for 40 years, and had it graded. When I got back into collecting, grading was all new to me, because when I collected in the 80s, we didn't, CGC didn't exist. And so
didn't exist. And in
I
the
did,
80s, people were more happy. I remember seeing ads everywhere about restoration. And
right.
now it's like the worst thing ever.
And I didn't, so I sent this into CGC myself. I didn't really even know anything about cleaning or pressing. So this book was this is a 40-year-old book that I've been bouncing around with me from apartment to houses, and
Mm-hmm.
it
And it's
was
still
in my attic for a while in a long box. And, like I said, not cleaned and pressed, and got a, 9.4 with white pages. So I was pretty happy that I at least knew enough to store my books properly and keep them in pretty good condition.
yeah, I found out the hard way. Not myself, but my sisters got their hands on some of my books, and they were younger than me. And well, let's just say the different colors and different, you know, rips and tears where there wasn't before. And this was a Silver Age collection of DC that over the years got a little wrecked until I realized what was going on. I finally started learning about bagging.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I kicked myself because, like I said, I had a local comic shop that I would go to, and I never really looked at back issues. I was always looking at, the newest books on, coming out every week. And I very rarely did I go back and buy, older issues. And I really wish I did, because I would have saved myself a lot of money instead of trying to collect Amazing Spider-Man today. I could
Yeah.
have, in 85, I could have picked up some books on the cheap. So,
Yeah. I hate myself when I was, well, I did end up selling my collection in my 20s, like a lot of us did, where I sold my collection for a bit and then got back into it later. But I always hated the fact that I saw a 129 ASM 129 for about $25 and I never bought it.
oh yeah, I have so I picked this up at my LCS. He got a collection of books in, and he had a bunch of old price guides, Overstreet price guides.
Yeah,
So
I
think this
love
is
those.
from like 94, and still the prices on the books. Like I wanna scream when I look at what I
Yeah,
could
I
have
know.
paid.
That's part of why I stopped looking at old Overstreets for a bit. I do like old Overstreets for the articles that are written. I know that sounds weird, but like for example, Mr. Stephen Gentner when he writes in there,
Uh-huh.
and I like the stories they like sometimes like it's the 30th anniversary of so. This is what happened. That's actually how I picked up a lot of my knowledge in the first days before internet. I
Okay,
was
yeah,
reading all the comic book magazines that they came
right.
out.
Wizard and everything else, right? Yeah.
No, actually, I predate Wizard. I was getting, the old comic, the newspaper there, the weekly one. I was getting
Oh,
that for
okay,
a
yeah.
while. And I believe Chuck Rosansky used to write for them back in the day. He
Well,
used to have a
what's
column.
amazing too in the Overstreet guide is just even some of the old advertisements for different
Yeah,
comic shops and services. People were selling books out of their homes, or you
yeah,
could email, not email, but you could write them and they would send you a list of books that they had
yeah. I
for
did that on a
sale.
couple
And
of
so,
occasions.
yeah.
Mhm. That was the thing that was actually hard because here's another thing. Canada did not have a lot of mail order comic book places. So if you didn't have a shop, you were really paying through the nose because back then you needed to get money orders.
Oh,
And
right.
I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what the fees were like in America, but at the time a money order in Canada was $1.50, and that was a lot to add if you were sending $3 to
Right.
somewhere else.
Yeah, I
You know,
think that's a money order was at
plus
least a
plus
dollar or a dollar 50. Yeah. Yeah.
In Canada, we don't. It's not a tradition either for us to send self-addressed stamped envelopes. The person sending it back just does it. It's just the way the business was done here. So, the first time I did send an order in, and they're like, "Well, where's your self?" They sent
Oh,
writing back. It's like I'm like, and all I could think of is you took the time to put postage and write me a letter. You could have just paid the postage and
right.
sent
Yeah.
me the damn stuff. But I mean, and that was another one. I had to send another money order and an envelope. You
Ah,
know, it was hard. So I decided quite early at the time I wasn't doing business in America. But Canada, as I said, was more of a wasteland there. We are so much better now, but it was tough. I
yeah.
used to get jealous. I used to get jealous reading the Overstreet and it'd be like, yeah, I'm a 5 hour drive from these cities, St. Louis, Chicago, Dallas. I'm like, oh, they're all down there. I remember thinking that. I mean, I was really young. I started when I was like 5, and that would be 1976. So so I was right into this stuff right from day one almost. So what else have you brought us?
Well, I brought my birthday book. So ASM 80. So this book is as old as I am, right? So this was published the month and year that I was born, January 1970.
Very
So
nice. Well, then you're my age, so you'll understand.
yes. Oh yeah.
That early age. The thing I found great back then was the number of different titles.
Well, and
The
it was
early
a lot
80s.
easier to collect back then, right?
Yeah,
Because you had 12 issues a year. They were published once a month, no variant covers, and
Yeah,
one annual. So it was basically 13, 13 issues a year for Amazing Spider-Man or basically any title. And so, and you didn't have a million variant covers. So
I know.
so it was a lot easier to collect, back then.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize you could buy back issues until I started reading some of those ads.
Right.
I used to sit there when I was like 10, 11 years old going, okay, so I have issue 335 of Action and 542. How can I get books in between? That was like my
Right.
thought. It didn't occur to me. Like, must be hard, I guess I got to know people. And when I discovered the comic stores myself and that they sold back issues, that was amazing.
Right. And so I started, like, I remember my first ASM when I started like collecting ASM was probably around issue 235 or so.
Mhm.
And so, but I just collected forward. I never, very rarely did I go buy, any of the, and, I could have 129, all of the keys, first appearances I could have, picked up inexpensively back, in 84, 85. And just, I don't know why I didn't do that, but I was just, I wanted to read stories forward. So this is probably my favorite, one of my favorite. I mean, it's hard because there's so many, like,
Right.
Batman and Superman, and Wonder Woman, there's so many titles and great covers, but this is one of my favorite um, ASM covers.
That's the first Ramita, right?
Yeah, first Ramita.
That
So,
is a
and
good one.
just a great cover. And Green Goblin for me is one of the top Spidey villains. Doc Ock, Green Goblin, I think are the top two for me. Just because the Green Goblin was just so ruthless
Yeah.
with Spidey over the years, right?
I've always thought that purple and green had to be the colors of villains because if you look at the top three and the top three villains, you've got the
Right.
Joker, the
Oh
Green
yeah, yeah.
Goblin, and Lex Luthor, who all wear purple and green.
Right. Yeah, I wonder if that was if there was thought that was put into that from Marvel's side.
Well, the Joker, of course, was first, but the
Right.
Green
That's what I
Goblin
mean.
came
Yeah.
before. Yeah, the Green Goblin came before Luthor was wearing purple and green, so that was a '70s thing.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I brought some of my I'm a Spider-Man fan. Peter Parker's my guy, but I really like Miles Morales.
Hmm.
Um, I think Marvel has the opportunity to really use Miles as the younger. The one thing that I found when I got back I got back into collecting 4 or 5 years ago. I was surprised that Peter Parker hadn't matured much. He was kind of the same story that I was reading, in the 80s. And I think Marvel's kind of missing the boat where they could really use Miles as he's a teenager, use him as
Exactly.
the go-to, growing pains as being a young Spider-Man, and really have Peter Parker be the mature, older. I
Hmm.
mean, and learn and do a little bit different storyline
Yeah.
instead of having him still be down on his luck and all of the things that we.
What exactly? Because one of the best things that I think that DC has done in the last few years is having Superman and Batman become fathers.
Right, right,
You know, because they're still young enough in the stories that they can be Superman and Batman, but it makes sense from an age perspective that they each have children.
right. And I think that's why I've enjoyed Ultimate Spider-Man so much, because Peter is married to Mary Jane. I think that's a lot of Spider-Man fans want them together, and they have children, and so you're
Mhm.
seeing a more mature Peter Parker and Spider-Man,
Right.
and it's kind of the story. For somebody who's been reading him for a long time, it's kind of where
Mhm.
the evolution of the character, where I expect him, to be in a steady relationship, and a dad, and so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
One of
hoping
the
that
worst. Keep going there. Sorry.
no, I'm hoping that Marvel will I don't know what they're going to do with the Ultimate Universe right now. There's kind of a course that stories are on with the Maker and things, but
Mhm.
I don't know what they're going to do with that storyline. And if Ultimate Spider-Man goes away, and we just have the current ASM where, like I said, Peter's still, single, and he's,
Yeah.
all of the things
Mhm.
that he's been doing for forever. It's going to be disappointing to only have that storyline and not the Ultimate storyline.
One of the things that actually turned me off of Spider-Man, like I was never the biggest Spider-Man fan, but I did buy some of his books. Like I like some of the stories. Like before we came on, I talked about the Carnage one. I really like that one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, but I was so upset by Mephisto removing
Oh, yeah.
marriage that
Brand
I
New
was
Day.
like I actually stopped buying Spider-Man for a long time.
Yeah, I think there were two that event and the clone saga was two kind of events that really kind of bothered longtime,
Mhm.
Spider-Man, fans and readers. So,
Yeah,
and
okay,
the
what we
last
got
book
here?
that I pulled was, so this is the Ultimate Spider-Man or Ultimate Fallout 4. This was the second print. Um,
Nice.
so just like I said, I really think Marvel has an opportunity with the popularity of Miles, and the fact that so many young kids have grown up. Whether it's the video games or the Disney shows with Miles, that they could really continue to write as a use Miles as the young Spider-Man, and then hopefully, you know, have Peter finally mature and maybe find some success.
I would certainly agree with you there because one of the things that I've read two stories only, but it was Miles Morales with Spider Gwen, and the two characters play off well on each other. Whoever was writing those stories did a
Oh,
good
yeah,
job.
yeah.
Those particular ones, although they didn't do a lot of superheroic stuff, they seem to have a good relationship.
But that's the books I pulled.
I appreciate you coming by with those books. I like to see personally high condition not considered. I think you're new. It's good to see you. Welcome to the show. I don't recall
Condition,
that name before.
yeah, not a name I'm familiar with. Yeah.
Um, oh, apparently Mephisto also killed off Mockingbird. I can't stand that villain, Steven says. Well, you know what? I like Mephisto per se. I did not watch Ironheart, and so I didn't see him on the screen. But my favorite Marvel character, for those that don't know, is Son of Satan. And
Yeah. Okay. I think I remember
obviously,
hearing that in one of your videos or live
yeah.
streams. Yeah.
So I mean, like, I've always personally liked demons and the devil and stuff in stories. So it wasn't hard for me to end up liking this guy once I discovered him with the Defenders. And I find with Ghost Rider as well, there's not a lot like the Mephisto in the Ghost Rider doesn't do a lot of for me either. I don't think Mephisto is written as a good devil, and I don't by good I don't mean he's a good guy. I mean like
Right. Right.
a quality of devil. I think
Right.
I
Well
think that
written. Yeah.
yeah I don't. It seems like no matter who's written him, he's. I feel a lack of wanting when it comes with Mephisto, and that's too bad because he has the potential to be one of the biggest bads of the biggest bads. And,
Yeah.
you know,
It's interesting because he's been talked about in the MCU of being a villain, and we finally got him in Ironheart, and it didn't really, because of the popularity of the series, it really wasn't well received for the
mhm,
most part. That it didn't it didn't seem like there was much excitement that he was.
exactly. I would have liked to see Mephisto be introduced in Doctor Strange myself. I feel that of all those because of the MCU, they haven't done a Ghost Rider movie. They're never going to be a Son of Satan. I could see a Son of Satan type character being introduced at some point as a side character, but again, it would probably be a Ghost Rider like similar to how his first debut was. It'd have to be a Ghost Rider story,
Right, right.
from that sort of thing. And
Yeah,
even
tied
then,
into that
mhm,
magic,
yeah.
demon world. Yeah,
See,
right.
I know a lot of people who their favorite DC parts, like Lunch Money Comics goes on about how his favorite DC are the magical, mystical, dark characters. I would say that about Marvel for me. I really enjoy reading the Ghost Rider and Son of Satan and even the Scarlet Witch when she's more in a
Okay.
magical story as
Right,
opposed to
right.
just being an Avenger. Myself, my son, his favorite Marvel character is Scarlet Witch. So
Oh, okay.
I keep hoping he watches the movies, he plays the video games. I keep hoping he'll get into the comics, but I don't think we're going to get there.
Yeah.
I've brought him to many shows, and all he's interested in is Lego minifigures. So, Brian, I want to thank you very much for coming tonight.
Yeah, no. I think right. Did we want to touch base on the
Let's
CBC
touch base
awards?
on the CBCA awards. I wanted
'Cause I
to
know you've
actually,
got your banner going down below. So
yes, I have that saying. Go over to the awards website. I'll be honest, I don't normally do this sort of thing, but I kind of been pushing for myself to get nominated. There's one category I actually saw that I wouldn't mind winning. So whether I win it or not, or even make the finals, that's not up to me. But it's something I would like to do. But and that's the most informative in the 500 to 999. But more so importantly, out there, we are trying to get Stephen and Alan nominated for the Monday Night Special because it is the only way Stephen can get an award in that sense. And we're really pushing for him because Collecto 6, Stephen does a lot for everybody out there. He has time for everybody. I remember after I did my first video, he took 20 minutes out of his time to call me, congratulate me, and then tell me what I did wrong. I loved it because, he was very enthusiastic. He's like, I want to see this go. You did this right and this right, but but the guy's knowledge
feedback is
so
always good, right?
yeah, his knowledge is so good, and he's been such a big part of the comic community. That's one of the reasons I want to push. Are we at a point? Okay, I should say, are you at a point where I'm not asking you to reveal anything, but you sort of have an idea of who the finalists are going to be?
No, I haven't really. I've been compiling the list of nominees of all the different channels that have been received nominations, but I haven't really looked at who's leading in each of the categories because I usually wait to the end because
Fair
I've
enough.
seen in the past where numbers could flip flop. Somebody
Yeah.
might be leading early, and even with the finalists voting too, where numbers can fluctuate. So I haven't really looked at that. I'm happy with that we have a lot of new names this year. And like I said, we were talking backstage. I think the list is well over 500 channels that have been
And I'm
nominated.
amazed by that. That in itself shows you how many channels out there are arousing people's interest.
Yes, yes,
Because if you're not interested, you're not voting.
right,
It's that simple.
right. So yeah, so I haven't really peaked. We're getting where I probably need to start to do that. But as soon as nominations end, I'll drop all the data in a spreadsheet and start to sort it and get things together.
Mhm.
Um,
And I
but
like the fact
yeah,
too
just
that
excited. Like I said, with the number of new channels, I get excited when I discover, looking at the nominations and I see a new channel that I wasn't aware of because now I can go follow them and check out what they're doing as well. So it's always fun for me running it to discover new channels via the nominations that come in. So
well, I remember last year I started in May, and when the CBCA came along, the fact that my name was even on the nomination was absolutely, it blew me away that some people thought enough to me just to even put in a nomination.
right, right.
Like I had no expectation of winning or anything like that. I was just, but I do remember the night that I watched you announce the finalists. My daughter was sitting with me, and she cried. I
Oh,
didn't get there, and I'm like, "It's not a big deal, sweetie." And she's like, "But I wanted to see you get there." I'm like, "It's okay, it's okay." And like I was going, and I consoled her and all that stuff, but again, I was just happy. I was really, really happy to see that Holyad made it to the finals and Lettuce, because they were brand new pretty much too
Right,
themselves.
right.
And so, I
New
mean,
channels last year. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I think is even just to get the nominate and being nominated, somebody recognized
mhm,
your channel or anybody's channel, to put their name down on a ballot. So, but
mhm.
yeah, I think being able to then make a finalist and then ultimately win would be great.
It would
I've
be,
been surprised at how serious some people really take that, because
yeah,
ultimately it is a competition, right? There's only one winner.
yeah,
But I'm glad that, there's different approaches. Some people really kind of dive in and say nominate me. Others take it a very casual approach, but
yeah.
I don't think there's any wrong way to go about it. I'm
Mhm.
just glad people have
I
bought
think
into the idea.
yeah. I just think you're doing a wonderful job with it. I mean, like I'm taking the tack that I would like this, but my life is not going to end if I
Right,
don't get there.
right,
So that's fine. I tell people it'd be nice if you vote for me, but go with your gut. I had to do that a couple times this year where I was like, oh, who do I pick? Who do I pick?
right,
And then I
right.
finally went with, in one case, I literally almost flipped a coin. It was down to the point where, like, you know, who do
And
I
that
pick?
happens once the finalists are announced, right? Because sometimes
Mhm.
you may have, two of your favorite channels in the same category, and it's like, how do you make that decision,
That
right?
happened. That happened last year with Biggie Shack and Comic Collector Geek. I
Okay.
won't say
Right.
who I voted for, but I'm telling you that took me. Like I actually took a day to think about that
Right.
because no, I mean it's a case. I mean, again, it's maybe more serious than it necessarily has to be, but everybody has to do ultimately what they want, what they feel is right. That's what they do for me.
Right.
Yes, Lyle is saying vote for me, vote for me. So as in him, sure, we'll vote. Everyone vote Lyle, okay? Lyle for the most eclectic collection out there is what I will say. Lyle's always been a great guest because you never know what he's going to pull out, and the crowd seems to love him. I love the stuff he pulls out. So the last thing about the CBCA I wanted to ask was if someone was so inclined, how would they become a sponsor?
Just reach out. The sponsorship is just reach out to me either on Instagram or via email. And sponsors really just help fund,
Mm-hmm.
help defer some of the costs of the awards, right? Because all of the winners get trophies, and there's shipping involved, and so
And for Canadians, we got to pay duty.
well, usually I always try to send it as a gift, right?
Yeah,
Consider it a gift, but yeah. So
it really comes down to honestly, it really comes down to who's picking it out at the custom office on any
oh,
given day.
right, yeah,
I
yeah.
work for the government. I won't, but I again, thank you very much for coming on today, Brian.
Yeah,
We're coming up
again,
to
thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
we're coming up to 50 minutes, so we're gonna wrap things up here, guys. I recommend you all go to FOMO Squad. Let's find out who Nate has rounded up to be. Oh, that's right. I remember. Nate has rounded up Kate from Kate Comics on Instagram to be their number 4 tonight. You guys may remember she's been on my show too. She's a wonderful collector. She likes the DC guys. So I appreciate that very much. So thank you everybody for coming tonight. I hope you've all had a good time. Once again, Robbie, thank you very much for your gift. I really appreciate it. I wish I could do it justice, but I can't afford the big full StreamYard right just yet. So thank you, everyone. My name's Matt. I like comics, and I hope you do too. Bye, everybody.
Bye.